Activation code required. Access granted. Warning. Evacuation sequence activated.
We're back. Welcome to the bunker.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another amazing episode of the S-4 Paranormal Bunker. So, tonight, as usual, we have Nikki Jacobs, Robert White, and Rosella C. Robes back with us. Thank you for joining us, guys. In the studio tonight, we only have me and John. Unfortunately, Kayla has to work early in the morning, so she can't make it.
Yep.
But, so, say hi, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Hello. Hello.
Doing good.
Friend.
Yeah,
So,
doing good.
perfect. One thing I want to say before we start is, as a lot of you know, I am a Native American, and recently the government of Canada has finally agreed to pay all of our tribes that fall under Treaty 6.
Yeah.
Really?
Restitution. Well, ratification. It's the agricultural ratification, the land they took away from the natives after they gave it to them for the use of agriculture.
Okay.
So, me and my kids are actually about to come into some pretty hefty funds, which is awesome. And then every tribe is using part of the funds to put towards kids' education, health services, and all the great things that they do for their communities. So that's awesome.
Yep.
Friends,
Yeah.
so congratulations everybody on that one. Friend,
That's a big deal.
good job, government of Canada. 200 years late, but whatever.
At least it happened, I guess.
Yeah. Friend, so tonight on the show, we are going to talk about some stories. Now,
Okay.
these are stories off the internet. Most of these are going to come from Reddit. Reddit is was invented as a place where someone could come, tell you something that's going on in their life, and maybe get some advice, maybe get a different perspective. And of course, the internet did what it did, and it turned into
Yeah.
porn. But there is still some very good areas in it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to read these stories to you guys. And these are hopefully actually people's true problems or issues or just a story. And if we can, you guys and I will give them some advice or a different perspective on what they're feeling. Okay?
Okay.
So the first one comes from subreddit Alien Abductions. It's called My Abduction and Examination. It says, hello, I want to say my abduction happened around 2022 when I was 17. I was hiking back to my car after I went swimming in a place I liked to go back then. After a while, it was getting dark, so I got out of the water and dried myself off before I went off. Then, after 20 minutes of walking, I saw a bright blue light making a humming sound. I then started to walk away as I just wanted to leave, and then I just froze, and after a moment, I was enveloped by the light. For my examination, I was laying on a silver long table with a blue light glass beneath me. Then these beings came out and started to examine me, taking samples and blood. The beings were human-like, with long blonde hair and blue uniforms, and after a while they stripped me down and put some kind of stuff on me. After that, I can't really remember. Then I woke up on the floor of the woods where I was still stripped as I tried to find the bag I dropped before I was taken. After a few days, I went to a hypnosis session to get what memories I forgot. Today, I still feel what's out there. What do you guys think? Fran?
I'm just going to say that if you go to a hypnosis session a few days afterwards, that's kind of far-fetched because you're pretty traumatized for years, probably until you, right, Nikki? I mean,
yeah, there's a couple things I'm calling into question. That's the second one. The first one is blue light, Gracie.
yeah,
That's my, okay, I'm going to unplug this, hopefully. I just realized. So as an abductee, there's all kinds of lights you can have, but typically the one, okay, I should know better, but as an ET abductee, typically what takes place is it's a white light. It's very rare that it's some other color coming down because, and it's so intense, the white light is so intense that it is blinding. It literally erases everything around you. Now, that's a question that I've got, because if I were around this person and that was when they were 17, they're obviously talking about it now, I would be going, I'd be asking a lot of other questions about that blue light, because that is very rare for that kind of thing. Blonde hair, blue-eyed, tall, skinny, in a blue. I mean, there are a lot of different beings, a lot of different ETs that can be dressed like that. And being 17 years old, there's not a lot of fear described in what was being described, basically, because typically when somebody goes through that, you have an enormous amount of fear, even if you go through a hypnosis session, a regression session following it. The regression session immediately afterwards, I call that into question. I mean, yeah. That's a 17-year-old kid. They've got a different mindset than an adult. But at the same time, it is possible, but it is very questionable, because you're literally in the heat of all the emotions that you're experiencing with that experience. So I, even as an abductee, I don't want, on one hand, I don't want to call another experiencer's experience into question, but there are a couple of real red flags there.
Well, the thing I'm wondering, okay, number one, 90% on time are on Reddit. They usually give you their gender.
well,
This story, and Noel calls out their gender, right? The thing is, like, it does sound hard to believe, and some of it seems a little too familiar from certain shows.
Yes.
But the problem I'm having with that is, the reason it sounds familiar is because it's not written well.
Well, not only that.
So I feel like I honestly feel like this is a guy.
Well, and see, I felt like it was a girl.
I was not exactly sure, because it just kind of seemed like there was not very many detailed, specific things in there that were missing. And I think Cole's really right about the fact that it's not very specific about the gender. But the thing is, too, that I thought, and maybe I missed it, did it say whether it was night or day? It just said a blue light, but it didn't seem to
After
say.
swimming.
And after, who would be swimming by
dark.
themselves?
It was getting dark.
I
So
mean,
they got out of the water after it was getting dark, and they dried themselves off, and about 20 minutes of walking.
It just seemed like that's like, who would go, like, what year is this, too? Like, so what, like, yeah, that, what year is it makes a difference, too, as well, because of, like, danger. That's just dangerous to go out 17 by yourself. It's now dark. You're in the woods. I mean, come on. It just seems like a little bit more far-fetched.
That part I won't call into question because John would have done that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, because I know people that would have done that at 17.
Yeah, I think it just depends on where you live. Because like here, John goes out by himself all the time, and yeah, he's had incidents with
things.
Well, no, guys. And we just taught him how to handle them properly, like tell him go away, creeper. Creeper, no creeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stab him in the gut.
And then we found out it was our HOA president, but still. Well,
only you.
Good call then. Keep going, creeper.
Right.
Okay, so
the part that makes me think it's a guy, Nikki, is the fact that when they say, after a while they stripped me down, and then woke up on the floor of the woods where I was still stripped. I think a girl would pay more attention to the details of that, whereas a guy is just like, all right, I'm still naked, whatever.
Well, that's the other thing, is there wasn't enough, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, there wasn't enough emotion. Well, there wasn't any emotion. There was no emotion, and there was no
details.
Yeah, the details. Sorry, my brain.
Yeah, this one is really hard to do because there's hardly any details in it.
Yeah. But it definitely leads into the question of who, not in this specific case, but in other cases, specifically when you're dealing with public, who's writing? You know, a lot of this, I mean, it's so anonymous unless you actually come out and say who the heck you are.
Right. Mm.
So this one only actually has one comment on it, and it doesn't help, like, it doesn't give them anything. It just asks, can you elaborate on what you found during the regression? Either way, thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because that means that it's, you know, you never know if that's an experiencer and they don't want to call out like I did. They don't want to call the person out saying, hey, is this bunk or is this, you know, a real experience? But there's too many oddities, let's put it that way. Too many oddities. And
so I am going to put a comment on this one after we're done here.
Okay.
And what I'm going to put is I'm going to tell them, and I'm going to put this on all of them, that we read this out on our podcast, and they can check it out and give them the address of the podcast. But on this one in particular, I am going to tell them when they talk about this, we need more details, and tell them if they don't want to put the details on here, I'm going to give them an email address they can send them to, and we can continue to talk about it.
There we go.
That way, if they don't feel safe talking
exactly,
we give them an actual safe place to talk.
Yeah, because there are a number of safe places that a person, even a teenager, can talk about these UFO abduction, ET abduction experiences. They're very few and far between regarding the teens, but there are certain groups that teenagers that have had real hardcore or even non-hardcore abductions where they can actually be with peers, and instead of all adults, but an adult facilitates it. So, or one or two adults facilitate. It just depends upon the group and which part of the country. A lot of these groups are done to where the groups are locked down. So it may be on a Zoom call. And it's a kind of, and it's really specific. So there are some groups out there there are quite a few groups, but yet at the same time, in the grand scheme of things, with the amount of abductees there are, very few, I would say, actually, of groups with the amount of abductees. So, so there are groups out there. There are support.
This subreddit itself has 1.1 thousand members.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, and there's quite a few of these that I found. So
you did well, because I had a heck of a time finding them.
Oh, well, I've got
but I don't
8
have a
here
Reddit account either.
Yeah, I've got 8 here just for tonight, and actually one showed up last weekend.
Really?
And there's only one reason I actually want to tell this story. And actually, we're going to do it next, because, friend.
Okay.
And it's because of one of the comments made. So this one is not alien abduction. This one, oh, God damn it. That's the only thing. Some of the comments take way too long to get through. This one comes from subreddit Ghosts. And the title is, An object I found in an abandoned house is moving around my apartment.
No.
A while back, I explored an abandoned house and found a doll made out of leaves, sticks, etc., etc. Attached to it was this very old paper miniature playing card. I took the card home but left the doll. I have a very secure shelf that the card lives on, secured down amongst various other creepy objects and bones and such. I woke up this morning and the card was 4 feet away from the shelf, face up on my floor. There is no air vents, fans, or anything of the sort that could have blown it off, especially considering I had it placed in a small box on the shelf. Thoughts?
Oh, wow.
Thoughts?
Okay, hold on. I gotta give you this comment, though.
Okay.
Friend. Give me 1 second. Friend, this was that good. Friend.
Oh, my God.
Damn, come on. Friend, going
I'm
through
just
these,
I wait.
Yeah, it has 500 comments on it. That's
We're waiting.
What the?
Mike Wazowski voice. Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. Sounds like you have a serious 2319 on your hands. I love that comment.
That's an awesome comment.
Oh, God.
There are some not so helpful comments.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
One of them says, go back to the place, rip the card in half, and just into the void yell out, what are you going to do now? That's not helpful.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But in the first place, if you have a doll that's made out of twigs,
Yeah, hello.
that's your first clue. Don't freaking touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walk away. You could potentially be dealing with certain kinds of energy fields. You could be dealing with certain kinds of Wicca or specifically witchcraft, not Wicca, because Wicca is different than forms of witchcraft. You could be dealing with somebody who's doing forms of necromancy, which is a whole different ballgame, but I wouldn't imagine they'd be dealing with twigs and sticks. But yeah, there's some potential issues there. I mean, did they ever think about the fact that picking something like that up, I mean, maybe it was deliberately tied to something to keep it out in the woods for a specific reason and wasn't supposed to be found?
See, this is my favorite part of these ones, is the fact that it also depends on regionally where you're from.
Exactly.
What you'll get for an answer. So, Texan 2020 Katza says, take it back where you found it, put it by the doll, leave 2 pistachios, 1 dried plum, and an open Miller Lite. So, obviously, the spirit, if it's for a spirit, is on a diet because they need the Miller Lite.
Yeah, what's that?
Well, and that means, okay, in the food, the specific kind of food, they're placating the fae.
Yeah. So, Odin Alphadeer, 1978, says, Ghosts love beer. It's a known fact. Not all of them are spirited.
God's sake.
Wow.
And then, he also says, they say sage gets rid of the evil ones. Maybe weed draws the chilled ones. I'm pretty
Palo
sure.
Santo, baby. Have you ever heard of Palo Santo wood?
I think he's from California.
I.
Like they're Well, and then one person is asking for details. He says, bottle or can, pitted or unpitted, shells on or off. Details matter, man.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Well, depending upon
some people are just abhorring him for taking it.
Well, you never should have touched it. But, somebody who doesn't have a clue about this kind of stuff, I mean, they're going to, oh, that's cool. Let me take that. No.
Well, and honestly, that is not the first
person who wants to take it and wants to have something happen so they can have something to brag about for attention or have experience. How many times have you heard that?
Yeah, well, because that's the thing. It's definitely not the first time. Because amongst various other creepy objects and bones and such. So, he has a shelf with just random items he's found on.
Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm.
So he's a taker.
That's a specific kind of...
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody else can say it. I'm not going to say it.
Ass?
No.
Retard?
Specific kind of...
Jackass.
Yeah.
Jackass.
Yeah. People who want attention, negative attention, still attention.
Yeah. That's that's not cool, man. That is not cool.
I knew this guy who used to buy spirit boxes from eBay just to open them in his backyard, literally. So, and he was hoping something bad would happen to him so he could have a so-called experience. These people are crazy.
At the same time, if someone's selling Gibbet boxes on the internet and I had the money, I'd probably buy them all and have someone professionally open them. Because no one deserves to be trapped like that.
I'd give it as a Christmas present.
I'd honestly have, you guys do it.
Oh my God.
No, but cross them over. In
Okay,
your own
so
time,
I just had Robert Williams say,
yeah,
or you could just give them...
Because, well, let's face it, 90% of the Divic boxes you find on the internet aren't going to be real. No, let's go
but who wants to mess with ones that are real?
See, there's always that 10%.
Hey, Kayla.
Oh, you are there.
Sure,
just about to call you.
She tried to sleep.
I tried to sleep, but it's way too hot in this house with all the fans off for the show. So I was like, if I'm up anyways, might as well.
I don't but I would never touch that damn thing.
No, you don't. You find stuff like that. It's there for a reason. Don't freaking touch it. Even if you want an experience. I mean, seriously, how mental do you have to be to... I'm sorry. I get very frustrated with stuff like that because it really... You could be dealing with a wannabe that is trapped there for a specific reason.
But Nikki...
But
Nikki, cool shiny object.
Yeah, but some shiny object you don't want to touch, dear boy. No.
Well, and I want to know where this abandoned house was, okay? And if it was actually abandoned or not. Okay, he's going into the Bell Witch house. He's like, oh, cool, abandoned house. Look at this. There's this weird little thing. Or if he's
look touchy.
Or if he's in Louisiana or somewhere of that nature, Where, I mean, like, all I'm thinking about is this doll that they're talking about made out of twigs and stuff. And I'm like, that sounds almost hoodoo-y. And,
Or, like our house when we're
let's
at
not.
your mom's for a weekend, and he's like, oh, well, they haven't been home in this, like, a week. So, hey.
Abandoned house.
Yeah, they abandoned the house.
Oh my god, abandoned house. Look at this TV on it. Take it.
I like, seriously, I mean, yeah, you're right. It does depend on what part of the world this person is. Like, Louisiana, you do.
Oh, I know how old you are, too, probably.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't touch. There's reasons.
Right.
No.
Yep.
All right. So our next one is, we're going back to alien abductions.
Ooh.
And the title is literally Advice, Please.
I got you, buddy. Let's hear this.
Hi, everybody. I am not a Redditor, and I do not use this app normally, but I'm trying to make sense of an incident that occurred 2 nights ago. I don't believe in supernatural stuff, and as a scientist in training, I only really believe stuff when I have evidence. The night before last, I awoke from a strange dream that I cannot remember. I was laying on my left side, as I usually would. I could see the wall in front of me as normal, however, there was a strange object hovering about 15 centimeters from my face. It took me a couple of seconds for my eyes to adjust to it, but it was about the size of a deck of cards and shaped like a pistol. It rotated around to an orientation where what would have been the barrel was pointed at me. Then I became aware that something was pulling my bed sheets off of me. I held on to them to prevent it, and out of the corner of my eye I saw what looked like a hand pass through my field of view. Then very suddenly something came very close to my head and made an awful noise, kind of like a shriek. Then it was morning all of a sudden, and I was laying in the same position. I'm trying to convince myself it was a dream, but I'm certain I was awake. Can anyone help? I can't stop thinking about it. Has anyone had a similar experience?
It's a skinwalker.
It's sleep paralysis.
I was thinking some kind of paranormal thing.
I was thinking Banshee.
It's lonely.
Last time I checked, Banshees didn't have loaded Glocks, though. Like,
it's just his neighbor wanting to.
But there are times that they do produce different things. So, I mean, there have been reports of that kind of stuff. That's why I thought of a Banshee. But then again, why...
They start screaming and don't stop screaming for a while, right?
Why? Yeah, they don't typically stop yelping. I mean, when they start screeching, it's a screech you don't ever forget.
Yeah.
However, kind of got me thinking, why does he have... He's essentially got missing time, and not missing times per se, but he's got... I mean, he passed back out again.
Yeah.
What's making him pass back out?
So, here's the thing.
I mean, seriously, think about that one for a minute. If he's a scientific person, scientific-minded, doesn't believe in paranormal, did not have anybody in his home, which is a key factor to that, which was not explained.
So, someone actually said the same thing Kayla did, that it was sleep paralysis, and they told their own story of sleep paralysis.
Yeah, it's very possible.
And the OP actually came back with, that's an interesting story, quite similar. I've had sleep paralysis all my life, but I don't think this was it. I could hold on to my bed sheets. Having thought about it, I definitely feel I must have been dreaming, but it's still absolutely terrifying. Thank you for the reply.
Okay. Okay, it is different if you move. Like,
it's very different. You can't move sleep. You cannot move sleep paralysis at all.
Well, and here's the thing. I was actually knocked out by an entity floating above my head. So I saw it, like physically saw it, and then I saw it I saw it just come up with an object and then hit me with it, and I got knocked out by it, and then I woke up with a huge egg on my head. So I got hit with something, and I still never found out what it was. It's in my book, but I just have to say, maybe that's something that this could have happened to this person, where he saw an object, he heard some noise, and then all of a sudden he's blacked out. He could have gotten hit with something and knocked out.
Yeah, and honestly, like, we associate things. So if it was an alien object and the closest thing he could think of associating it with would be a gun-like thing.
Yeah. That is interesting. But yeah.
Like, I almost feel like if it was an abduction moment, this would be the equivalent of waking up in the middle.
Yeah. My comment about an ET abduction, though, is that ETs will not physically knock you out. Certain races of ETs that do abduct, they'll knock you out telepathically. They know, they have the ability, mental ability to be able to do it. The energy, because they are at such a high frequency. They literally affect the human brain a very specific way. However, there are races of ET that do abduct, and they abduct with the military. U.S. and other government military, and yes, you can have a situation. You can have a situation where they would have that, what he described. However, I would be asking him, do you have marks on you, on your body? Do you have 3 triangle marks? Do you have a small burn that you can't figure out where it came from? You know you didn't have that mark to begin with. Do you have a scoop mark on the inner part of your arm or anywhere on your body? Typically, the arms and the legs are the key points for that, but there are locations that on the body that can have that. Now, the other thing is this is going to come out really weird and probably come across the wrong way, but he needs to start feeling his body out to find out if he's got any odd marks on the back of his head, behind his ears, the tops of his skull. How tired was he after this event? He doesn't talk about any of those kinds of things. And those are classic ET abduction scenarios with various kinds of ETs or ET US or other government personnel. Because there are situations where, and if he's in science and he's a budding scientist, if it is a true ET abduction and it is ET military related, that person's going to be a hotbed. No joke about it. That person's going to be, they're going to be interested in him, and they're going to be wanting to see what he could potentially bring to, whether it's my labs or some other form.
I also want to know if anything else from his house was missing, because if he's scientific and he's thinking of it that way and he's not into paranormal and he's not thinking of paranormal, well, somebody shooting you with some ketamine and robbing you would have the same result to it. And that, like, with the gun and with the yell to see if he is actually out or not, it sounds more like home invasion versus ET abduction.
That's why I was saying if there's anything else, and what is not only what is missing in his house, what's been moved. If you have a situation like that, my first thing after I get up, if I even suspect I've been taken, I start photographing my bedroom. Because
or was he working on a project that was really important?
You guys did, although, like, you guys kind of took something and ran with it for a second. And that was the fact that you said he got knocked back out. That's not the way he describes this. He says, then very suddenly, something came very close to my head, made an awful noise, kind of like a shriek, and then it was morning all of a sudden, and I was laying in the same position.
Well, which makes me think that he was knocked out.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Being knocked out,
a writer would say that.
But being knocked out physically is something, like, you usually when that happens, you feel something.
Not necessarily. I mean, if they injected him with some kind of God, I was going to say ACE inhibitor. That is not what I mean. If they injected him, like Kayla had said, with ketamine or some other drug, or even there's a spray that can be done to where the person, all they have to do is spray it around the head. They don't even have to be hit on the head, and it literally knocks the person out. It knocks them senseless.
And if you're scared and trying to figure out what's going on and it's happening really quick, you wouldn't really remember if something like that occurred. And, you just wake up the next morning like, what the hell happened? So
right, this could easily be a chloroform incident here.
The way I'm taking that knockout, I guess, is, I guess we'd have to call it that. It was almost the shriek that did it.
Yeah, so that's a thought that I had.
Like, because the fact that he heard the shriek and then all of a sudden it was morning, and he said the noise was awful.
Well, it could have been like the binaural beats, but a knockout version that the aliens have.
Okay.
Because you never know what sort of sounds they use to go to sleep.
Yeah.
It's like alien white noise. He was just trying to help you out here.
Well, I already realized because, like, where
that was
out of the corner of the eye, I saw what looked like a hand pass through my field of view. Then suddenly something came very close to my head and made an awful noise.
If a hand,
but they just realized it was fucking awake.
Oh shit!
He's awake. Knock him back out.
I've had that happen where the ETs didn't realize that I was awake and conscious, and it pisses them. It freaks them out. It's some of them. It pisses them off and freaks the others out. And then you're out like that. I mean, there's no control whatsoever.
Well, think about, like, even anesthesiologists. There are certain times where it doesn't work on certain people the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And they'll wake up, like, mid-surgery and be like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah, that's why they tape their eyes shut. Mm-hmm.
Well, and whenever you see it in a movie, it's always the nurse that screams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, honestly, what if there's an alien nurse in there, they're doing some experiments, and then they're like, oh, shit! Okay.
Oh, God.
Oh, Jupiter's ball sack! He's awake!
That was funny.
Well, yeah, because, like...
Get out! Do it! It's whack-a-mole session.
Their eyes are completely wide open. They're watching them do surgery on themselves, and the nurse screams. And I don't know if you guys have ever woken up in a hospital room to a nurse screaming. It's a horrible fucking sound. So, it's not good.
Terror usually isn't a good sound. I mean...
Dude, anytime you wake up to somebody going, "Wah!" in your ear, it's not a good sound. All right? I don't care if it's an alien, a human, or your cat. Okay?
Your cat. It's probably his cat throwing up.
Even for these ones, guys, I will... So I will comment on a lot of what we said.
Damn, I'm going to throw up those.
What you asked for. So, like, to check his body, check for different marks, those type of things. And then I will keep watching these. I have them saved, so my computer will actually tell me if they comment back.
The other thing is that if he really is concerned, one of the things that true ET abductees do, not everybody, but there are people who do this. I'm not one who does it, but there are people who do. They put a camera in their bedroom because they want the solid evidence. But here's the thing. Paranormal typically isn't going to shut that off. Government will, and so will the ETs, because the ETs are using a specific form of frequency. But here, regarding the ETs, is one to where you can actually put... Now, this I remember coming from Dave Scott himself. He talked about putting a pile of quarters on top of each other and putting that on his dresser and then saying out loud before he'd go to bed, or he was describing it that from somebody else, I don't remember which, but anyway, stating out loud before the person goes to bed, if this is happening and you are really doing this and you are an ET, you are an alien, would you please move the quarters, move the pile of quarters so that I know that it's taking place. Now, that's going to depend on if you have an animal or not, like if you've got a cat or dog that likes to jump on furniture.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to depend on that kind of thing. But if you don't, and you don't have somebody living with you and you're single, you don't have anybody over at that given moment in time, that's a good way to, because if it is an ET, they literally read every aspect of your mind since the last time they were there abducting.
Okay,
and
I just gotta say, like, I would never, ever put a camera on myself while I was sleeping, just because, what if you do catch something? I would never be able to freaking sleep again.
On that subject, if you are living with someone, do not put a camera in your bedroom without asking your partner. You don't want a whole situation where my wife has an OnlyFans account, and one of these days I'll tell her. Fred.
Hey, where's
well,
somebody?
I just know somebody that happened to.
Really?
Unfortunately, yes.
That's
and
messed up.
They're divorced now.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really where the money's coming from.
It's terrible. So,
Fred.
yeah. And I think it's interesting, though, the role of quarters, because here's the thing, it's selective. Like, if it was something that could maybe, like, knock over or something, like, you know, easily, because that's like a wanting thing. And cameras are interesting, too, because, like, I mean, Nikki and Robert, you know, probably definitely know what I'm talking about, too. It's just like, if they want to enough, and they don't want us to have evidence, they're going to turn that thing off. They'll move the camera. Like, how many paranormal caught on cameras do you see that the camera moves? And I've had that where I'm like, move your camera, you're not allowed to film me. And I see the camera move in the person's hand. And later you see that there's a hand coming over the camera and moving it, because you were like, no, you cannot film me. And the spirits will protect you. So it just kind of depends, you know, on the situation. You have to be, if the aliens are compliant enough to not want to knock over the quarters, because they can be like, screw you, I don't need to do anything for you. You know, I owe you nothing. So, yeah, it just depends on the situation.
And most are very legalistic, so that comes down to a whole other subject.
Could suck if you have, if you end up actually being one of those people who's a beacon of paranormal activity, and so you ask the aliens to move the coins, and then the ghost that's actually living in your house does it instead.
Yeah.
Like, well, shit.
That's a little...
Yeah, I did what you said. What are you talking about? You mad?
That's why you need to be specific.
Those grey things came in, and I was moving those things, and they went,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm being experimented on, damn it. All right. Our next story, again, comes from Alien Abductions. Fran, the title is 3 Experiences. And if I start to speak with a London or English accent, I apologize. Fran, it's just it's just the way it's written, guys. Hi, It's been hard for me to tell people about this, so please don't judge. I honestly feel like a right dickhead mentioning it, like now, and when I try and tell my friends, they think I need to be sectioned, put in a mental home.
Okay.
I'm new to all of this, i.e., UFO, aliens, and abductions thing, and was very skeptical about it until it happened, so here it goes. Backstory. From the age 15, I started taking ketamine on the London gay scene, which got bad when I ended up sniffing up to 10 grams a day, not anymore. I always had the same type of coal. I don't know what that means. It's Khole. I had a fixed point, i.e. TV, and the room moves around me, or I'm floating around the room like on a little roller coaster. I'm 33 years old now and have grown up a bit since. Once a month when I'm off work and haven't gotta give a shit about anything, I like to treat myself to a little bit, 1 gram of ketamine. You might just say it's the K that done it, but what happens is completely different. I was lying in bed, and as the cold started, it's the usual thing. With the room spinning, something different made me close my eyes, and when I did, things started to happen. My eyelids was flickering like crazy, and I couldn't open them. Felt like I was going up a spiral staircase. The next minute, I knew I was being wheeled somewhere else, like I was sat in a wheelchair. It seems like a really posh lobby with there was a window going all around, but pitch black outside, a neon purple seating area, and a tall statue / obelisk in front of me. Whilst being wheeled away, I turned a corner into another area, and I could see 4 tables with some sort of orb ball on top, and another person being there. As I got a little closer, I could see an arm reach into the orb thing, and all I heard, "You gotta put that back, you know," and a female voice said, "Yes, I know." Then all of a sudden, I'm back in my bed. A month or so later, I had a short experience of the same type of thing, but this time all I heard was phase 2, a few days after I was able to capture on vid a UFO, I think, from my living room window. It wasn't until after my last recent experience, things got me thinking, what the fuck? As I said, once a month I like to treat myself a little, but this time lasted a little longer. The whole started off as usual. Room spinning, bed floating, but I saw a female with pearl white hair, FYI, I live alone, and she said, "I've been accepted. This is my code number, NS3X021C-RQ, and her name is Galiza." I've never heard that name before in my life, so I googled it. What shook me more is when I found pics of my family's name, coat of arms, and the coat of arms for Galiza. They're way too similar. We'll put pic and link in comments. Sorry for the novel, but really had to tell someone.
Yeah, I think you're tripping.
Yeah.
That is the only thing I can come up with.
Shit, now I know what that means. A coal.
What?
It's not a coal. It's a K-hole. The ketamine hole that he falls into.
Yeah. So I think this is years and years of drug abuse with potentially some other undiagnosed mental issues there that...
Well, okay.
But at the same time, people like that are not taken seriously.
Yeah.
So they'd be perfect targets for certain things, too.
Like, is there not a chance that the race that was trying to, or that was doing the abduction, needed someone who is on drugs like that?
Can you please repeat the code thing?
NS3X021.
Whoa. Not too fast.
Sorry.
No. My brain.
Sorry. NS3X021C-RQ. And then the name he gave was Galiza, which is Galiza.
I agree with Kayla.
The thing is,
I think it's sad.
It is.
Very sad.
You know, okay. So I know a lot of people who have done a lot of different drugs throughout their life. And at some point... Yeah. Oh. And at some point you get to that point where you can't 100% differentiate certain things from reality anymore.
Yeah, there's a serious amount of... I mean, if he hasn't done it for a long time and once a month he does do it, starts to do it, I mean, even in microdosing, and he's not microdosing. That's not that amount is not microdosing.
So I just looked it up, and it says side effect is rapid eye movement, and he literally described.
Exactly. I mean, he's got some serious issue. He's having hardcore medical issues from that, and so it's a form of tripping out. But what bothers me, well, I'm not going to say that on air. There's something that bothers me about this, and it's part of the code. The rest of it, I think, is the drugs. It's the ketamine drug. I mean, that's going to really screw with a person's mind.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Especially long term.
I did not feel comfortable saying that code on the air.
I
don't blame you.
That the code thing, in my opinion, was slipped in so it would look more legit. Not sure if Kayla, agrees with me on that one too. I just felt like the code was put in to, make it look like it wasn't a drug problem.
There's a section of that code that's real.
So
that's what I wasn't going to talk about. But there is a section of that code that's real. But everything else he's talked about, no.
What if he got it from something else and he just put it in to make it look more?
Yeah, I mean, there's too many drug things involved in that one. There's too many medical things that are acting upon the brain. I mean, way too many things.
Now, I will tell you that there are a lot of people throughout history that have done dosing, and they will dose themselves to get to an alternate plane of reality. Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a few even in ecology that will do it, that believe in doing that.
So, I mean, also, though, you also have the factor in there that a lot of what he's describing in the beginning of that, have you ever seen the movie Gattaca?
Oh, been years.
See, that's what it sounded like to me. Yeah.
One of the, opening scenes, he almost describes it perfectly. So, if he's remembering something that he's seen in the past, like in a movie or something like that, and it's like going into his trip, and then this only seems to happen when he is on.
Yeah.
Because he said the last 3 times that he's taken it, this has happened. It's not when he's sober, it's happening. Ever.
Exactly.
You guys want to know what's starting to bother me?
Drug stuff.
So I've read a lot of these over the last week. I've probably read over 300 abduction stories in a week. Why is there never a brunette alien?
There's black-haired. I've seen them.
They ran out of wigs.
No story.
But seriously.
I have never seen brown hair. Ever.
Or a redhead.
No. I have seen. They're very few and very, very, very few and very far between, but they are there.
The only thing
there's even a form of black hair being so black that it's blue or purple.
Yeah, but seriously, that is one thing. When people are talking about it, it's usually very white or very, very blonde hair that they bring up, or no hair at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why that bothers me so much.
Well, it depends on what they've been bred with or what they've been hybridized with.
I know, but
I just saw one of my sons recently, and one of my hybrid sons, and he had brown hair. I about fell out of what I was sitting in at the time. I was like, oh my God. It just really was rather stunning. But yeah, they do have it, but it's like, that's when I start asking, okay, what was that ET hybridized with? What have they cut the genetics with?
Mm-hmm. And I think it might have something to do with most of the people that were around have darker hair colors. Okay?
Yeah.
So, pretty close to everybody except for, a few people in my mom's side, they have brown or black hair. So I think it's just we're so used to seeing brown and black hair that not having an account of that from another species is weird, you know?
So, I am looking at the video that the guy posted of the UFO from his window.
Mm-hmm.
It's a drone.
I don't know what to say about this.
Did you put it on the Discord?
Yeah.
Friend, I think I can share it to everything.
Okay.
Friend, so it's in the Discord.
Well, and I mean, like, the other thing that I have a problem with here, too, is he was saying that, and I have absolutely nothing against people that are different sexually oriented in any way, shape, or form, but he was saying that at the age of 15, it was the homosexual, like, London area that he was going and getting all of this drugs and everything from when he first started out. And somebody that has problems with themselves or has problems accepting something like that in themselves also tends to create different lies and stuff around them so that they don't have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if you had, like, really, obviously, he must have gotten either, he'd had, like, a horrible upbringing because his parents don't know what he's doing at the age of 15,
Yeah.
or he got, like, disowned by his family for said stuff and ended up going down a horrible path in life because of it. So you gotta kind of take the fact that he was 15, roaming around on the streets, doing ketamine all by himself, like, he's gotta come from some kind of brokenness.
Yeah. That's pretty terrible.
Okay, it's in the radio chat too. Weird. It's not a good video. Like, as it stands, it could be a reflection.
Could be a street lamp.
Yeah, like it's a horrible video of what he's taking.
Mm-hmm.
He shakes too much. That's probably the ketamine. Like, I don't know.
Does he have any more responses to anything on there or any of that?
So he got one comment 4 months ago, 1 month after he posted it, that says, "I'm speechless, I believe you."
Okay.
Which isn't very helpful. Like, it would have been helpful if she would say why. Like, if she had a similar experience or...
Or what? Or the reason for actually believing. Right.
Yeah.
That
we're not always
the
going to
video
get that. Yeah.
The video actually looks like what they would call a torch. If he's British, it would be a flashlight for us. Where the flashlight is being held over trees. You get that if you have a flashlight going long distance, certain kind of flashlights will do a donut in the center.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like to me.
So will airplane lights.
Yes.
It depends on the...
Especially, you got to think, if this is London, it's foggy usually. The weather there is semi-clouded, semi-foggy. So any light going through that is going to be a little distorted as well.
It depends, like, the concave shape of whatever it's being reflected through would cause that, certain ones of them that will cause that donut shape.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Yeah, I unfortunately, I gotta say, I think it really is just, years of drug abuse and, a slip from reality.
I agree.
All right. Well, hopefully he can get the help he needs. Because that's... I don't care what anyone says. 1 gram of ketamine is way too freaking much.
That's a lot of drug. I mean, seriously.
Mm-hmm. And, well, the way that he's stating it in his post, too, is he's like, oh, dude, I don't do it anymore. Like, I only do a gram every month or so now. And it's like, I shudder to think of what you did before.
Yeah, exactly.
You told yourself that you were pretty much sober doing a gram a month. So...
And that's not being sober. Anybody who understands that.
Right.
All right.
That's hardcore.
Yeah. So the next one comes from subreddit Paranormal.
All right. Paranormal.
This one says, I don't believe in ghosts, but...
You know how many of them open like that? I've never believed in this, but check this experience out.
I went to sleep with a headache. I woke up to get some Tylenol at 1:15 a.m. My wife and I have suspected that our house has some minor spiritual activity. While I'm downstairs, I hear the creaking of our steps, followed by my wife calling to me, "Are you okay? Everything okay?" "Yes, yeah," I replied, "just a headache." I heard our stairs creak again, and then dead silence. I took my pills and went upstairs. When I entered our bedroom, my wife was barely awake and asked if I was okay. "Yeah, I'm fine," I said, "just a headache." We talked about it in the morning. She tells me she never left bed. She felt me wake up and saw me leave. She woke up enough to make sure I came back to bed. She never went to the stairs. After further discussion, she mentioned that our house was dead silent when I went downstairs. She specifically used the words eerily quiet. What the hell is possibly going on here? Could be nothing, could be paranormal, a mimic, some sort of ghost. It was a really weird experience.
Okay, first I'd like to open that up with, he says, I don't believe in ghosts at all. I don't believe in spirit. Like, what does he say in the very beginning? Well, he says,
I don't believe in ghosts, but...
Yeah, and then he says, like a couple sentences away from that.
Spiritual activity can be different than ghosts.
Okay.
Well, it's a doppelganger, if you ask me.
Yeah, like, just because someone says they don't believe in ghosts doesn't mean they don't believe in any of it. It just means, like, specifically, they could be meaning a specific type. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't believe in Ghostbusters.
Right. You know, I get what you're saying. It's just like, kind of, like...
Those guys are real.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of these experiences that happen to a lot of people. And sometimes they blame it on, like, your head is playing tricks on yourself because you were expecting that to happen or whatever. But others say that it's, like, partial time slips or universe slips. Okay, like, in a different universe, she did wake up and followed him down and was like, hey, are you okay? In this particular case, he didn't see her, so it was just... A voice. So it wasn't like seeing somebody that wasn't there and then was there. There's a lot of stories like that too, but
it could be a skinwalker known for doing that, mimicking human voices.
There's a lot of different entities that are known for mimicking human voices.
I don't know if you'd find a skinwalker though upstairs in your house, John.
Yeah, probably not.
Never know.
So Kevin LFC says, especially with what we know about human cognitive errors, do you really think that your headspace was in the right place to perceive your situation and surroundings with total accuracy? When I've gotten up in the middle of the night, I've also experienced a handful of auditory and visual hallucinations. We know it happens. OP says, I'm 20% on my awareness. Well, I had a headache and was pretty miserable. I've been awake for a while and feel I was pretty tuned into my surroundings. I hear where you're coming from, though. Honestly, I wouldn't rule it out, but just because I was more in tune doesn't mean I don't have a glimmer of doubt there. I have a problem with him not being in tune with his surroundings. He know the time. That's like, no, you if you can tell the time with accuracy, you were awake.
Well, and honestly, usually if I have like a really bad headache, I'm more in tune with my surroundings than I am without it.
Yeah, all your sensories are just
because
really...
you're noticing everything.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that, Kayla. Yeah. When you're in that kind of pain, you notice everything.
You notice every little movement because it hurts you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, not only does it hurt you, your extra senses, even if you don't believe you've got extra senses, you become hyper aware.
Yeah,
That's very well known.
You start feeling the carpet more, everything as you're walking. Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sensory.
But usually,
Everything
like with
sensory.
doppelgangers, they'll mimic.
Well,
that's happened to me my whole childhood in that haunted house. It was always mimicking the other person's voice, making sounds. I mean, he heard the stairs creak. Yep. Just because he didn't even see it, it could have been a complete doppelganger of his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so I like this theory that someone posted.
What?
If you believe in parallel dimensions, then this might have been your wife who, from a parallel reality, actually was checking on your well-being, having momentarily switched realities with the wife that greeted you in the bedroom.
Well, that's what I was just saying, is that people talk about, like, parallel slips or time slips or...
But would make sense why the wife didn't hear shit. That was upstairs.
Well, because it was in a different reality.
Yeah. They switched.
No. Mm-hmm.
If the upstairs of their house actually switched realities.
Yeah, like some Coraline shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Friend.
It's my wife with button eyes.
Oh, God.
Oh, God, Kayla.
I do gotta say, I am, like, this one actually makes me proud of commenters. Because Less Football 8295 says, I like how people on Reddit don't discredit OPs, which is original posters, in subjects like these. There doesn't seem to be much bullying here. Having said that, I've seen many stories here of people hearing the family members talk to them when they actually weren't, so I definitely believe there was something else that came down the stairs. Doesn't seem to be malevolent, though. And that's correct. If they're just coming at you with this story, and nothing else has happened, other than like some minor spiritual activity, but just like this kind of crap, he obviously doesn't feel it's Evie. He felt it was as well. I don't know his wife, so I can't say that. But, he doesn't seem to feel threatened by it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, like...
And usually doppelgangers aren't threatening.
Yeah.
They just like to mess with you for some reason.
Friend.
Now, quickly though, with that being said too, I know that there are some times where, like, you'll get up in the middle of the night to go use the bathroom or to go into the kitchen or whatever, okay? Mm-hmm. And as the wife in that, like, half sleep, half awake state, sometimes I'll say stuff and not remember saying it either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, if I genuinely was like, oh, you went to bed with a headache, like, out of the blue, you're going to be like, hey, are you okay? Like, you know what I mean?
That's a totally different situation. Because when you do it, I feel threatened.
Oh, my God. No, but I mean, like, it could have been just her half awake, too, just saying down the stairs, like, hey, are you alright? And not remembering the conversation because she was only half...
The only difference is that he heard a creak on the stairs.
Well, yeah, and when I'm walking down my stairs, sometimes the top stair or the other stair will creak because of the distribution of your weight in the wood.
Well, right, but...
Here's the creaking of our steps.
The creaking, okay.
So
alright, okay.
It is someone walking
like, genuinely
down the stairs.
Somebody walking
right.
down the stairs.
So if she got out of bed, she had to get out of bed to have the stairs creak. Mm-hmm. I can see that if you shouted something, where you're just oblivious. Like, sometimes my husband's like, well, you said all this stuff to me. Don't you remember? And I'm like, no. Like,
right. See, that's what I'm saying. Is like, sometimes I'll be like, whatever. And then it'll be like, we had a whole conversation. What? No, we didn't.
Well, yeah. But he replied, and his wife from their bedroom didn't hear him.
Okay. So, yeah. I mean, that's a different... Like, the creaking on the stairs is the only thing. It's like somebody... That was physical movement. So she didn't probably shout down because there was physical stair movement.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it had to be somebody. And she probably just slept through it and didn't hear it, is what I was thinking. I mean,
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention, if she didn't hear it is another thing, but she could have just slept through it. Big possibility.
Well, but she says she felt him wake up, saw him leave, and she woke up enough to make sure that he came back to bed. So she was awake too.
But see, like when somebody leaves your bed and then they come back.
Yeah, but you're in that like drowsy, wake, not really awake stage.
Right. You're not paying attention. You're in and out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. When Kayla leaves the bed, I don't even notice anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
And I wake up and go to like pat her on the arm, and she's not even there. And I'm like, what the frick?
And I'm like, it's noon. Wake up. No.
No, it's going to be like tomorrow morning when you say, it's 4 a.m.
Siren.
You're doing a little sleep.
Yeah, no joke.
Friend. All right, the next one. Comes from Alien Abductions again.
Next one.
And it says, possible alien abduction. So, okay, I'm looking for any others who might have had the same experience or outcome. I don't remember much. This happened in the early 1990s when I was about 10 years old. I remember one night I was sleeping in my bed. I was dreaming, or at least I thought I was. I remember being somewhere sort of like a doctor's office, like an exam room. I was strapped to a bed, but I don't remember anything else. Following the next morning, I noticed white spots on the center of my chest and center of my back like something went through my body. That morning, my dad was talking about seeing a UFO that night before. There was crop circles also in Paulding, Ohio, and Adrian, Michigan. Well, I mentioned the spots to my parents, and their response was, I've always had those marks. But me, I know my body. I never did. So through on my childhood, I was convinced I had them. Okay, so 30 years go by. I meet my girlfriend, and she introduced me to her friends, John and Marcy, not their real names. I don't want to give out real names because John is very self-conscious. So my girlfriend noticed my markings since we've been dating. Well, one night, John comes out and starts talking about UFOs and stuff, and he mentions that he has these white markings on his chest and back, identical as mine. She asked me if I was okay if I could show my birthmark to John, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. But what for? So I show him, and John starts to freak out and was like, no way. I'm like, what? He proceeds to tell me about his marks, same as mine, so anyone out there that has these markings or anyone knows of someone, I would gladly like to hear your story. I don't think it's coincidence.
That actually, to me, sounds pretty legit. Like, especially seeing as like he was 10 at the point when this happened, and like his dad was so very nonchalant about it. I wonder that if his dad has the same type of markings, because sometimes that's a generational thing. Because his dad just seemed like, oh yeah, I saw a UFO the other night, and oh no, those markings have always been there. You're fine, dude. Like,
I will say, this whole piece sucks.
Why?
Because first per question asks him for photographs to demonstrate the size and position of the marks. Says it'd be helpful if you're asking whether other people have these. He says he will definitely post pictures tomorrow when I have someone to get my back. That was 6 months ago. That prick.
Right.
He doesn't have someone to his back.
Also, as a typical guy, though.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He'll do it when he gets
Just give him like...
Where's the ketchup? It's in front of your face.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the like detail that was involved in his, about the area that he was in, about the fact that his dad saw a UFO floating around there a couple of days, if not the same day of, and there's like other things in the area that show signs of stuff too. I feel like that would pretty legitimately be an actual abduction there.
Nikki, how do you feel? Like, have you ever heard of someone with those type of markings?
On the front and back?
Yeah. Like, same spot on the body where, like, something went through you.
not like something went through you, but I have. It's very rare. But the reason why I reacted the way I did when I first heard that they were on the chest and that his father denied them, that he's had them all the time. Then the father talking about the UFO. I react, and then the guy that he met, never knew, just met, that he had the same markings. Not only is that a UFO abduction, that's real specific. So specific that I would what's the right phrase? I would hypothesize that the two of them have been on board the same ship and are part of the same program that was likely started at the age of 4, maybe 5 years old. And the reason I say that is because typically, if you come across something that rare, they're usually, and you come across somebody else you've never met before that has the exact same marks that are that rare, they're usually part of some kind of ET program, which leads into a bunch of series of questions regarding what kind of program, which kind of ET race is it? Is that ET race also working with U.S. government? Because these are, I'm assuming, U.S. citizens or have lived in the United States most, or if not all of their lives.
It says like Idaho or Indiana is like
yeah, exactly. So the other thing is that since Cole is going to be putting the information for this, hopefully this person will listen to what I'm saying, and I can feel it. He needs to look into, and I hate referring people over to MUFON because I really do not like the corporation.
Yeah.
However, I found out recently, and I will have to give the link to Cole so that he can put it up there with the information that he's going to post for this person. But I just recently found out there is a free MUFON website that will give information regarding sightings and possible abductions during certain time frames. And it's old. It goes back a long freaking time. So you're talking, this person was approximately 10 years old in the early 1990s. Yeah. That places it approximately 30 years ago, 30 years ago. So, and if this person or these two gentlemen, they're supposed to meet. This is what I have learned over the course of my time as an abductee. I have unexpectedly and shockingly come across more ET abductees that were on the same ships that I was during the same time frame that I was.
So, the other thing that I'd like to know is if him and the other guy, I would assume they are because they're like hanging out as friends, would be approximately the same age, or if one was quite a bit older than the other, or like I'd like to know the age difference in the two guys.
Not only that, I would be interested in also, and this one is something that I would have to be really diligent on, but for what they can do for themselves is they can, if they are regular lifelong ET abductees and do not know it, have just figured it out, my question would be to them, have you verbally or mentally stated, I want to know what program I am a part of, how long the program has been going, and what year it started, which will put it, because sometimes as an abductee, you will get those answers, but they will come in dream stages. And those dreams are typically real life, but the ETs are so invested in making it so that your experiences feel like dreams when they're actual reality. So you will find that out through your own quote-unquote dream stage. It is how they do, it is how the ETs start screen memories. And once you start breaking through some of the screen memories, you'll start to figure out how to manipulate your brain to protect itself to where you can get glimmers and actual memories of where you're breaking through and you wake up in your body while you're on board a ship in the middle of a program. So there are ways to go about doing this. And there are groups I would highly recommend these gentlemen get themselves involved with. There are a couple of groups I can think right off the top of my head. I am not stating them publicly.
Yeah.
So get in touch with Cole, or they can get in touch with me. But yeah,
the other thing I would like to
The
other thing I'd like to kind of know that wasn't really mentioned in there was, this was roughly, like we said, about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? I'd like to know if geographically the two of them were in the same area, or if they were like states apart from each other at that time period.
Exactly. One of the things that I've learned is that many ET abductees can be from different sections of the world on board the same ship, and you unexpectedly. So there's a woman that I have met on board ship, and I have never met her either in person, or in video, face-to-face video. And she lives across the country. She's in the United States. She lives across the country.
Yeah.
We've known each other since childhood. And it's only a year and a half ago that I realized, because she's on a show, she's periodically on a very specific person's show, and I went, oh my God, that's her. And it literally, the second I recognized her, I started having flashbacks from all different aspects of my ET abduction. We've known each other since childhood. Then I've had experiences where I've had adults that I've recognized, but I was the child. They were the adult. They're in their 60s or 70s. Anyway, 60s, late 60s, early 70s now. And, oh my God, and I'm getting a high pitch in my ear. I'm getting hierarchies. And basically what has taken place is they were from Washington. And those specific individuals and we know each other, but in regular life we know each other, but it's been a hell of a mind bender to me to recognize that I knew that person when I was a child and they were an adult. Heck of a mind bender. But they've been in Washington State. So yeah, it can be to where you're in the same general vicinity.
Sometimes on Reddit, your original poster can be something that you don't get a complete story of.
Yeah.
But in the comments, sometimes people won't feel comfortable actually posting their story as an original post, but will post their story in the comments.
Yeah.
So this thing is 6 months old. 10 days ago, Serendipitous Ways posted or commented, as a child in the late 80s to 90s, I had something similar. I remember getting up at night and somehow having hazy vision. Then I was on my back and a dual row of lights like street lamps passing by. Next thing I can remember is I'm on a very cold table, and some kind of doctor, never saw him, says in German, "You can see again in a moment." Now I am going to, this is me talking, I am going to butcher this. Du kannst gleich wieder sehen. Apparently that means you can see again in a moment. He starts to pat my back along my spine from the neck down. I think he uses some sort of mental instrument. I grew up near a military base. And so, like, sometimes you end up with, like, some of these have 50 to 60 comments, and in the comments you'll find 3 more stories. You never know how it's going to go with this.
I can see that, yeah.
So, but that kind of sounds familiar, but serendipitous ways, the way she's describing this, like, her English is pretty good. And the terms she uses in some of her thing, she's not from Germany.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or she's been around Americans a while.
Yeah. Well, but it
Or
seems like grew up near a
brat
military. She
situation.
doesn't say she grew up on the base. She grew up near it.
I mean, it could be a complete army brat situation with that.
Yeah.
Well, also with being around a military, not only that, but being around a military base, most military bases around the globe have underground bases.
Yeah.
So, so they've got a lot of underground tunnels, a lot of locations that they can get to.
Which
so
would
there
have
are a
dual
lot of
row
things.
of lights, like street
Bingo.
lights. Friend. So that that one kind of makes me wonder about that.
There's all sorts of things, and with the military base, what are they testing? There's a lot of testing going on of unmarked aerial craft.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Friend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will send messages to them both, asking for more info again. Our next one comes from subreddit abductions, and the title is "Am I an Abductee?" This one's going to be hard for me to read, guys. Hey all, firstly, I'm a European guy, so my English is not very well. But I want to ask this community about my weird childhood experiences. Back when I'm a kid in the 90s, I lived mostly in my grandparents' apartment in a 10-story building, 6th floor. When a car passes by the building, it's on the it's next to a main road in which an international truck's passing by. For some seconds, you see its headlights get some pale moving light on the ceiling. I'm waking up in the middle of the night. I remember some trucks passing by, pale light, some noise, and that's all as usual. But after some trucks that have a very strange light starts to come, it looks like a truck passing by, but it has a bluish and much more brighter headlight. This is something weird about that thing. It's humming, and suddenly it stopped. The room becomes clearly visible in the bluish light. It looks like it's parking right in front of the window. I'm scared as hell, and I can't move because of that. I feel it all hold about 10-15 seconds only. Excuse me. Suddenly, total darkness again. Feeling the presence of something in the room. After that, blackout. When I wake up, I'm all sweaty. I feel worn out, and when I remember the light, freaking out again. But that's not all. Some years later, once again, met a light. I can't unfold. Waking up in the night, there is a bright white light, as bright as I can't even see anything. No balcony door, furniture, not even my bed or myself. Just this light that made me blind. After all that, dark. Next thing is waking up. Remembering the last thing from the night, I freaked out again. On the other hand, I have strange dreams. Once in my dream, I want to leave at the night, or at least at a time when it's dark outside. It's strange by a 9 to 10-year-old kid, but not in a dream. Nobody around me, so I go to the entrance door and open it. In the staircase, all lights on. But 2 gray guys standing in front of the door. a taller one like 170 to 180 centimeters, and a shorter one like 150. They staring at me communicate something to me in my head. After that blackout, waking up in a strange, scared mental state. Another dream, I'm in the living room alone. TV on, lights on, but I have a strong feeling that something about to happen. Lights blinking, then all go off. Somebody in the apartment's hall. At least I feel or I know so, running to the door to close it. Try to shout out to my grandparents, but I can't. Door is opening, dream ends. Can't sleep very well after that for a long time. On another dream, it's happened again, now in my room. Now it's dawning. Some light coming through the window in my room. Waking up, but have a strong, unnatural feeling about it that someone is in the apartment trying to go out to my room on the toilet, but the door is closed. I can't open it anyway and hear strange steps from outside. The next thing is waking up all sweaty with the door open. After that experiences, I was unnaturally interested in the UFO phenomenon. Collect books, magazines, watching documentaries, TV shows, movies, so everything involving UFOs, extraterrestrials, abductions. On the other hand, after this thing, I'm sleeping only when the lights or the TV on for a decade. For years, I freaked out from lightning, fearing storms, flashing lights by it for years like an animal. To this day, I feel very uncomfortable in the dark. Now I'm 30 and not thinking about that for years, maybe a decade. Became a skeptic, who don't really know that this is a whole UFO and abduction phenomenon is real, or just our mind playing with ourselves. But some days ago, see an article about Reddit abduction stories. Reading some and all come back. I get a strangely strong sense to dig myself in this again, and for the first time share my experiences with somebody. Whew.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Well, it just
hard to read.
Our languages really need to get their shit together. Because they don't translate very easily.
No.
But
that's an abduction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
there's
an
no
abduction.
doubt in my mind.
That is what you are freaking asking for when you are asking for someone to describe an experience. Because holy crap, the detail on that.
Yeah, I gotta say, there's no doubt in my mind that's absolutely an abduction.
Yeah. So people need to check out NUFORC, NUFORC.org. They also and I'll have to get the MUFON link to Cole, but those are the two links you can check out where UFOs are seen. What part of the United States? However, it's different in each country. Some countries don't have anything like that. They don't keep track of it. Others do. So you've got to find in your own country what there may be.
Yeah. He doesn't actually state his original country. He's got people commenting from other countries because their English is just as bad.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that to be an ass. I'm saying it because they all comment with not from an English speaking country as well. Sorry. But this person is also they're telling them the right things as well. To look for stuff like puncture marks or patch of skin missing. Oh, no, never mind. I'm sorry. This guy is actually describing what happened to him. He's waking up and having that. So, and you know what, Nikki? We really do need to get those links in there because most of these guys on this one, which how many commenters are there? 24. And they are asking for who to talk to reach out to other abductees. So,
yeah, I'll get you the MUFON link. I'll have to because I got that sent to me by somebody else. But for the United States, it's the National UFO Reporting Center. So it's newfork.org. That's where you can look to see about reports. People go in. Everything is public. People's information, and it's owned by Peter Davenport. Was founded in 1974. Even the U.S. government has used him in his site. Even the FAA did at one point. But my point is that there are people in ufology that are experiencers, and a lot of them are not on Reddit. You've got to seek out, and you've got to watch out, because in ufology, there's people who are crap. They're bunk. And then there's folks like me and R. Keith Andrews and a bunch of others that are real and very real. I mean, we can give you experience after experience. And some of the experiences aren't so great, and some of them are. And then some of them, we don't remember them, but we know we've had them because our body is triggered by certain things. Well, in an abduction, you have muscle memory, and your brain may not remember because it's been not allowed to remember by the ETs or by the military, depending upon what they're drugging you with, that are so far down not a rabbit hole, but they're so far down a hole that they're buried with what part of the government they really are with, and what they're actually using humans for. So there's a whole slew of large chunks of information, and it's very easy to become, as an abductee, it's very, very easy to become overwhelmed. So on my own website, or my own YouTube channel, I try to post in file folders different people that are on YouTube that are talking, or give links in my own broadcasts of people that I know that are quality people that talk openly about this. There are those that are willing to help. So, for those who are having real abductions versus those who are just trying to fake it because they want attention. Mm-hmm. And usually an ET abductee, when they start getting triggered, there's a lot of psychology to that. There is a lot of major fear factor, and then a lot of anger kicks in, because once you come out of the fear, then the anger you go through the Rosella, the 5 stage, I want to call it the 5 stages of grief, but it's real similar to that in when you go through a traumatic experience. And some abductions are extremely traumatic, where others absolutely are not. Well, that comes down to the specific race of ET that is doing the abducting, or the specific race of ET that is working with the ones who actually come down to Earth, who can come down to Earth, who actually do the physical abducting. So, because sometimes it can be 2 different races, and they may look real similar to each other. And I found that out the hard way.
This guy's saying that they were both gray, but one of them was way taller, one of them was way shorter. Well, it could be...
Bingo.
Hold on.
That's you've got controllers going on, and you've got abductors.
Well, okay. Saying that, now I want to tell you guys, I skimmed over just the main stories on each of these. I never went through the comments, except for that first one, because I found that just by chance, and we were at Kayla's mom's house, and so I just started reading at night. But this might not be an abduction.
Wait, what's up?
Okay, so we got another commenter, and I don't know how to say his name.
Oh, okay.
Because it is a Chinese name, and I don't know how to pronounce this, but it's Qing. Does anyone know?
Q.
No.
Zing. I wanted to say zing, but that's not right. Ing. Ing, maybe?
I mean, it sounds like ing to me, yeah.
Yeah, so his actual Reddit name is I Am Your Daddy Queen. Or Zing. Or Bing. I don't know. But it says, hello, I had almost a 90% similar experience 20 years ago when I was 15. I am from China. Lived in an apartment on the 4th floor. Besides the lights and darkouts, I also felt a wave of thoughts, don't know how to describe it, entered my brain, felt like someone was trying to occupy my soul, and I lost consciousness after that. I never know if it was aliens or I had experienced something else. Later that year, when I woke up in the middle of the night, I saw a transparent but not fully transparent, like it was twisting the space or something, and you can still see it, orb, spinning right in front of my eyes out the window. I stared at it for several seconds and watched as it flew away. Now, the OP says to that, I've never seen anything what is like a UFO or thing you see. But this feeling that somebody occupies my mind, hearing my thoughts that are not yours, hearing strange things, yes, this is for me and my entire family.
Boy.
Okay, there are two things involved that popped into my head. One, there are certain beings, entities, that can do that very thing. Two, there are certain governments that have programs to where they are... You remember the 1970s movie or 80s movie Dreamscape?
Yeah.
There are governments across this planet that can do that. They can enter dreams. And they can make the body feel, because they've entered the dream, because there's a psychic connection when you enter. I've done it myself. There's literally, although it's been positive and I had permission to do it, but that's beside the point. The thing about it is that there is literally a psychic connection to somebody who's in REM sleep. And when REM sleep happens, you are susceptible. I've had this happen with U.S. military. I've had this happen with entities and spirits. FYI, spirits can do this. But we typically have to be in some form of REM. There are different forms of REM that we only, our scientists classify it, there's only one REM. Bullshit. There's a few REMs, but that's beside the point. So those are the two main things I think about when I hear something like that, Cole.
Well, my thing with that particular post is he just said that not only him, but his entire family has had experiences like this. And I know that, like, generational abductees is a huge thing, where they will follow a family line for...
But so can...
Right. But I don't know. However, I mean, I think that it could be sleep paralysis, just to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be that. I mean, that's what it kind of felt like.
It's a possibility.
When, except for saying the whole generational, like other family members experiencing it at the same time, I thought, that's 101 sleep paralysis at first.
Well,
and sleep paralysis acts differently on each person. It's not necessarily the same thing. It's got a lot of similar characteristics.
Right, and you're in that kind of deep sleep where it's like those times where you want to wake yourself up and you can't, and you feel like you can't move, and you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and you're trying to get out. So it kind of felt that from that description of the energy that might have been happening.
Now, I will also play a little bit of a devil's advocate here and say that certain seizure disorders and Foucault states can cause the same thing.
Right.
Because there seems to be a lot of interaction with different alternating lights here. And if you have an undiagnosed seizure disorder, then the optics from the lights will cause you to go into a Foucault state, and you will pass out, and you will wake up, and you will be sweaty and panicky and everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there are other
physical thing to me too.
Well, but just wondering, what do you guys think about it being a possibility of being an entity?
I just don't think so. I'm going to say I think it's like a physical condition. And the only thing I can say is if it isn't and it is an abduction, it's only because they said that the other people experienced it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the hard part I have with the sleep paralysis thing is he's not paralyzed in any of it.
Well, though, sometimes
because he runs
maybe
to the door.
He's not saying it. Oh, he runs to the door. Okay.
Yeah, like he runs to the door and tries to open it, and he can't open the door that normally doesn't have an issue.
Do you think that they could be dreaming they're running to the door?
That's a possibility.
That's a possibility, too.
The only part that is actually paralyzed is his own voice.
And see, that's sleep paralysis, too.
He can't scream for his grandparents, but he's moving the entire time. Like, he has full control of his body, but he doesn't have control of his voice in any of it.
So I'd
like to know... But a lot of people tell me that they can talk. Like, they feel they can't talk, but they feel that they can move, but they're really not moving.
Did it say he was from France, or was this... It didn't say where he was originally.
Europe.
Europe, yeah. Okay. Europe, yeah. Okay.
That was funny.
Okay, because I do know that there are certain other areas of the world where there are Fae entities that are way more prominent in other areas than they are here, that have similar capabilities as well.
Yeah.
But then it would still technically be an abductee situation, just from a ancient race instead of E.T.
Well, there are ancient races that are underground that pop out, and they do abduct.
Mm-hmm. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, it would still be it would still be an abduction scenario, but it might not technically be E.T. as the abductor. It could be a Fae race. It could be an ancient race.
And there are Fae races that will take a human through a portal.
Mm-hmm.
There are portals that are not even really talked about.
So me personally, to answer his question, I really do think it is an abduction type scenario, but I wouldn't necessarily go immediately towards E.T.
I think it's more entity, some form of entity, but and we all have our different views on it. So I mean, I think it's some form of entity.
I guess what I hope from episodes like this is each of us gives our different point of view, and he can look into all of them and see what he finds.
Bingo.
Well, and the other thing that I definitely would get checked out, just to rule out all possibilities, is get a full medical exam and make sure that there isn't something pushing on some part of your brain, or you have an aneurysm or anything of that nature, because that can cause all kinds of issues as well.
Well, and if everyone in the house is experiencing this kind of shit, check out your carbon monoxide detector, because...
No kidding. There's a lot of paranormal that people think happen when it's specific to all of the environmental issues. It's not just carbon monoxide. You're in other countries, it could be something completely different.
Yeah.
So definitely check out through, because that'll really affect the body and the brain. Oh my gosh. Yes. Even what a person eats. It could be something even genetic, where a person or the entire family is completely susceptible.
Yeah.
I mean, I've come across people like that.
And the other thing that I would also say is to make sure that whether or not it's an abduction scenario or whether it's a medical issue or anything like that, to be that scared of something, to have that much fear for that many years, I would still go and potentially like talk to a therapist or something about this, just so that it can get those fears.
Yeah,
to
it's a big deal.
Bit. Yeah,
it's a
no matter
big,
what it
big
ends up
deal.
being, like just getting your own fear under
Right.
check.
Because it's just sad to live with. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Been there, done that for a year, and it's not fun with an ET abduction. So yeah, I fully agree. Took me a
Just
while.
anybody that you can find that you can talk to and just kind of get yourself out of that state and out of that fear is a good deal.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think it's more of a medical condition, if you ask me.
friend, we have 10 minutes left, and I don't know if we have time for another one.
Do one more. Get the last one out there.
Okay, this one again. Well, no, this one actually comes from a different subreddit, and this one is actually our subreddit alien abduction.
Okay.
It's not abductions. This one is called My Experience. Greetings, everyone. I'm new here and excited to read all of your messages. After keeping it for years to myself and only a few people that I know, I decided to find a platform to share my story. I don't know if this has anything to do with aliens or if I should move to another sub that talks about paranormal matters, but anyway, I have some questions, so maybe people can help me here. Back in the 90s, when I was around 6 years old living in a small rural town, there was a night where I suddenly saw a blue light coming through my window. But what was strange about it was that there was a heavy voice speaking in a foreign language that sounded very ancient. I saw shadows in my room and started to scream. I felt like I couldn't move. Luckily, my mother came to check on me, but was wondering why the window was open. A week later, I was rushed into hospital, and the doctor asked my parents if they were smokers because my lungs looked like that of a smoker with dark spots. I saw some really weird stuff in the hospital. I think those were hallucinations of some kind, not sure what those were. But before all this happened, or after, can't remember for sure, the doctor found a strange object in my arm. He sent it to the lab to know what material it was, but they've never really found out what it was. He thought it was some kind of iron, but wasn't sure. Anyway, all those years went by, and I'm in my 30s now. Nothing happened anymore until last year when I was outdoors by my parents' house. I was doing something outside, and all of a sudden I saw a bright white light coming from the sky. My mother saw it too, and she's a very skeptical person. There was a sound to the light, like someone was taking a photo. How bizarre. And what could this have been? My theory is they found me again and that the object in my arm was an implant tracker from when I was a child, but I'm always willing to know what else it could be and if anyone has a theory or explanation. I might remove this post later again as I don't feel very comfortable sharing this, but wanted to know if there are people with answers or similar experiences for reading.
Inside of the arm, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, they found a piece inside of his arm, and his lungs had dark spots on them like a smoker.
At the age of 6?
At 6.
Okay.
Test subject.
And his parents weren't smokers, by the way.
So he just had like heavy smoker's lungs at the age of 6 without ever smoking.
Yeah.
That sucks. That's gotta suck for him.
Yeah, I feel sorry for this person, is what my feelings are.
Right? They're going to be on, like, nebulizers and shit their entire life and never have actually done anything themselves. Like...
Maybe. You never know.
That's tragic.
Skill issue.
I mean, since the age of 6, though? That's just tragic.
Right.
My first response to that is him being a test subject.
Yeah.
The thing about the clicking and the sound of a photo being taken, that's old school. That's old school. You only hear that in, I hate saying it, but you only hear that in military. You do not hear that in a a true UFO. In an ET UFO, you will not hear that. You will hear that in military UFOs.
Well, you said this was what year was this? The 90s?
90s.
80s,
Yeah,
90s? Okay.
But it says a small rural town. It doesn't say where they grew up, but I can tell you where they grew up. They're in Canada.
All right.
Huh?
Why do you assume that?
A week later, I was rushed into hospital.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep. Never mind.
British say it that way, too.
But nothing else out of him is British.
Yeah, exactly.
It's too Americanized.
So, yeah, probably Canadian.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel really bad for this person. And something's obviously happened to them. It's terrible.
Yeah, like the object in the arm. I have a feeling they're right.
That it probably was some kind of tracker.
That sounds like a tracker.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it to me. Yeah.
Now,
to me, it sounds like a military tracker. It doesn't sound like an ET tracker, but there are ET trackers all over the body. So,
yeah.
Well, and couldn't it be kind of both, Nikki? Like, couldn't it be a tracker that the military used, and the actual incident was military, but with ET influence?
Yeah, it can happen. It gets really convoluted. I mean, the ETs that work with the humans, they'll put in a kind of tracker that's a combo. But they have been known, and especially in the 90s, in the late 80s, and especially in through the mid 90s, little bit into the late 90s, like 96, 97, but not much beyond that from what I understand or what other people have told me. And they usually do too.
I think you're definitely
so
right
I'd be
that
surprised.
It's got human influence because, like,
yeah,
they're describing it as some type of iron.
Okay, so
I've never heard of an ET device using iron.
No, but you know what? Okay, so again, devil's advocate a little bit here, but
go for it.
I remember being a kid in the 90s. Okay, and if you're thinking of growing up in a rural area, okay, you spent every fucking day outside running around doing all kinds of stuff. Okay? And I know that, like, at my grandparents' house, like, there was this old wood shed with tons of nails and tons of different shit that was all over it. And you'd get scrapes and cuts and, like, little slivers of, like, stuff under your skin all the time. So I'd like to know, like, the actual dimensions, I guess, of what was taken out. Because it could just be that you got, like, metal from the outside.
Yeah.
Because iron is not typically something that it would be, like, that's a little different.
But then your doctor would normally actually know what it is. Especially after sending it to a lab.
Yeah, I guess that is true.
Yeah. True.
Now, did he not know what it was, or did he just not release that information to the kid of what it was?
If it was something mundane, why wouldn't he?
I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of stuff sometimes
but why
you just don't
if it was
get
just
the
mundane?
information from. Yeah, that's true.
There's no reason to keep that from them. Like, you would tell them, well, when you fell here, you got this under your skin.
Yeah, that's true. But there's been a lot of things that have been taken out of humans' bodies that they never actually get explained. Yeah. They never tell them what.
Do you really want to go there?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that, like, sometimes it just goes off to the lab and it never mysteriously comes back.
Yeah. Like the kidney from some people I know.
What?
Friend.
Yeah.
What are we talking about next week? What's our plan?
I don't know.
What's the move?
Not sure yet.
Friend, I'm...
We have undisclosed items to discuss next week.
Yes, that's the best way to describe that.
Excellent.
Yeah, because I actually have to talk to you guys before we actually pick something. So, but it is now 11:50 or 12 o'clock, depending on which clock you actually look at here.
4:59 p.m.
Our
Yeah.
doomsday clock is like a minute
So-
too. Oh.
Well, it always is now. But thank you very much, everyone, for listening. For those who will hopefully listen to the show from the Reddit posts, I hope that we were able to give you some answers. If we can help give you any more answers, you can always reach out to us through here or
Facebook.
check out our Discord, and we can answer questions for you in there. Or I will, like I said, I will be posting email for the panel that we can answer questions for you in there. And all you have to do with that one is, if you do not want us talking about online, but would ask to like Nick or ask Nikki something,
Make it
or
private.
Rosella,
Yeah.
or Robert something in particular, I will make sure we get you to those people without an issue, and we won't discuss it any further. So, but
Correct.
if you don't mind, I could really use the content, guys. But yeah, so thank you again for listening. Panel, thank you for being here. Robert, Rosella, Nikki, you guys rock as always. Fred, Kayla, thank you for showing up.
Yeah.
John, clean your room. Clean your room. God damn it.
It is clean.
My clean, not your clean.
My clean's good enough.
The real thing.
You keep using it. I do not think it means what you think it means.
All right, everybody, have a good night, and we will see you next Wednesday, 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, here on the S-4 Paranormal Bunker.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Data transfer complete. System malfunction. Please evacuate immediately. Program terminated.
Son of a biscuit eater.